Hi! Alright, so this video is going to be a little different than what I have been doing because I found some funny things that I've written and I posted about it on Twitter, and apparently people would like the idea of hearing about my fan fiction that I've written, and unfortunately most of that is lost to the ether. A lot of my really long in-depth fan fiction was written in high school and I don't have access to any of those files anymore. But I did find a few very short things I wrote, including something from when I was 14 in this little here notebook, which has a Blythe doll on it, if you can see it. I used to be very obsessed with them because it was fun to have something that has my name. We'll save this one towards the end because it's pretty funny to me. Let's start with the Mass Effect fanfiction. Now, a little preface on this is I wrote this as someone who picked the Destroy ending after playing as Super Paragon Shepard. Spoilers for a game that is quite a few years old now, I guess, but I picked the Destroy ending and I had a very Paragon Shepard, and at the end, your character lives if you pick that ending, and I didn't think my very Paragon Shepard would be okay with some of the consequences of that. So I decided to write it in two very short scenes, one with Kaidan and Shepard talking, and the other one with Shepard and Joker talking. So let's discover this together, shall we? Kaidan and Shepard talk Thane. That's what this scene is titled. "We never really did talk about things between you and that assassin," Kaidan said, standing in the doorway of the bedroom. "Thane," Shepard said, her voice empty. She sits on the bed looking out the window. The sky is clear of clouds and the sun shines brightly on people outside. The buildings still stand tall, despite all the destruction the Reapers had caused. "Yeah." Kaidan turns his body and begins to leave the room, gripping the side of the doorway with his right hand. "I just want to know, to finally ease all this tension. Did you love him?" "Yes." "Oh," Kaidan's head lowers. I was such a drama queen. "It wasn't the same, Kaidan." "What do you mean? You loved him. Obviously there was something there." "It had been 2 years. I was clinically brain dead for 2 full years. I wake up to find that Cerberus had rebuilt me. Then I get to Horizon and you shut me down." Horizon is like the worst day for Shepard ever. So you know what? Shepard has points. "I get to Horizon and you shut me down. I thought you were dead for 2 years, and I didn't realize the whole situation at the time. I didn't know why you were working for Cerberus." "Well, maybe if you'd let me explain, then you would know." "I'm not angry with you, Kaidan. Damn it. I wanted to contact you. I asked the elusive man to find the old team. There was nothing he could do. Then you were on Horizon, and I was so happy to see you again." "You were?" "Of course I was. But you were so hurt and angry with me. I didn't know what to do with myself. And then there was Thane." This is... Oh, it was I had to be 19 when I wrote this. This is why 19-year-olds don't get book deals. "He was such a great guy. He comforted me and cared about me the way you had. He was there. But... Shepard stops and she puts her head in her hands. Kaidan moves from the doorway and sits on the bed beside her. He places his arm around her, pulling her closer to him. "But what?" "He had a disease that only the Drell can get. Sometimes I feel like I led him on. He truly loved me and didn't even get upset with me for wanting to fix things with you, and then... I can't believe the way I hurt you." Oh, this is ridiculous. "It's hard." This is a line I really wrote, y'all. "It's hard not to love you, Shepard," Kaidan sighs. "I just wanted to know. You don't have to feel guilty for anything. Maybe not for this, but I have a lot to feel guilty for. She pulls her body away from Kaidan and looks down at her hands. He tries to place a hand on her shoulder and she shoves him off. And that's the end of that. I think I was leading into her talking about feeling guilty for killing all of the synthetic life, because that's what happens when you pick the destroy ending. Joker and Shepard. Joker sits atop a red bar stool facing the bartender. The bartender is a grisly man with a thick but short dark beard and hard brown eyes. Behind him is a wall lined with varying wines, whiskey, and scotch, among other alcoholic beverages. Shepard walks forward to the bar and takes a seat to the left of Joker. Give me your strongest drink, Shepard says. The bartender nods and crouches down to a cabinet beneath the wall of liquor. Usually top shelf alcohol, I think, is where that is supposed to be, but, you know. Commander. Commander? Good to see you out and about again, says Joker. I'm not your commander anymore. I know, but the name kind of stuck, Joker shrugs. What would you like me to call you? Hero? Champion? Savior? Shepard grimaces at the list of names and shakes her head. Nah, just call me Shepard. You could even call me by my first name if you really wanted to. That would be weird, Shepard. A glass filled with a caramel-colored liquid thumps onto the bar, causing the other patrons to glance over in Shepard's direction. That's the strongest we got. The bartender's voice is gravelly and deep. Sorry, I don't have a gravelly, deep voice. Thanks, Shepard nods. His facial expression remains stoic and he walks away to tend to the other orders. So, what brings you down to see your old pilot? Joker asks. I heard you had some R&R and I thought I might come talk to you. I haven't had a drink in a while. Oh, and I haven't had a drink in a while. Oops. You always did seem to have a bit of a drinking problem, Joker laughs. Shepard smiles, picks up her drink and gulps it down. She tightens her jaw, closes her eyes, and shakes her head as she swallows. Joker, she starts. What happened to Edie? His body grows rigid and clenches his fist. He grabs a drink in front of him and takes a large sip from it. Why do you ask? I don't know a lot of the details of that night. She got destroyed when the Reapers did, along with the Geth. How have you held up? It's not something you just get over, if that's what you're asking. So many lives were lost that night. You can say that again. So many lives were lost that night. No, I didn't put that there. You can say that again. There's something I have to tell you, Joker. I'm all ears. It's my fault. Shepard looks away from Joker and turns her attention to her hands on the bar. She lifts a hand into the air and motions for the bartender to get her another drink. He nods and begins to pour another shot. Shepard, you did what you had to do, that's that. I had choices that night. A few different ones, and I thought it was right. What are you saying, Shepard? Joker cocks his head and stares directly at her. His brow furrows. It's my fault that Edie's dead. I had a choice and I knew the consequences. And I just never wrote Joker's reaction. I don't know why. But yeah, that's my Mass Effect fanfiction. I think they could be better. They could definitely be better. I was like 19 and taking a lot of creative writing classes and was like, why don't I write Mass Effect fanfiction? That's what it turned out to be. I was such a drama queen. Another one that I have is a Last of Us fanfiction for Bill and Frank. Bill and Frank. Bill and Frank. I literally wrote a fanfiction for the only gay character. At the time, I did not know Ellie was gay. Also, she's like 14 in the first game. So I didn't write fanfiction about her and Riley. I picked the two adult gay characters and wrote a fanfiction for Bill and Frank. And if you're gonna be like, they're gay? Yeah, you might want to replay the first one. They're hella gay. Let's find out. He stood at the entrance to the apartment, 114, where his new neighbor had just moved in. Oh, Okay, so I do remember this. It is before the apocalypse has happened, I think. I think that's when I did it. It was like them meeting. He held a batch of assorted cookies, which he baked himself the second he heard someone was moving in. They were chocolate chip, sugar, and raspberry. Did I think that? I mean, chocolate and raspberry is good, I guess. That's not a flavor combination I would normally make, but maybe I need to try it. He wanted to avoid peanut butter or nut flavored, just in case the new person had an allergy. Nut flavored. The door opened right before him and he smiled, a wide, toothy grin. "Hello, neighbor," he said. Can I help you?" the grizzled man in the doorway asked. His beard was scratchy, his hair was long, and he had oil stains on his shirt. Sexy. "I'm Frank. I live next door, and I heard you were moving in." He thrust the cookies forward. "I baked cookies!" "Oh, Frank, I made you so cute." The man glanced down at them and eyed them warily. He didn't budge, nor did he accept a cookie. "Are they poisoned?" Frank raised an eyebrow and laughed. "I just met you. Why would I want to kill you?" His new neighbor shrugged and continued to stare at the cookies before grabbing a chocolate chip one. "I'm Bill." "Welcome to the complex, Bill. And these are all for you." He offered the cookies forward, hoping that Bill would accept them all. Mr. Flirtatious Frank. I made Frank so cute. Like, it's not, like, great by any means. Like, I can write better than this, but, like, I made Frank really cute. Maybe I'll come by again and help you with that. He winked and smiled. He knew his smile was infectious, and the second he did smile, he saw the corner of Bill's mouth twitch upward. As he walked away to his apartment, he had a little laugh at his newest friend's awkwardness. Frank knew everyone in the complex and had a habit of putting himself out there, but this Bill could barely leave his apartment. He opened the door of apartment 115 and mused at the idea that Bill purposefully asked for 114 instead of 13 out of sheer superstition. That was the day they first met. Wow, that was an easy sentence to say, and I messed up several times. I don't know why he thinks Bill is superstitious. I probably could have elaborated on that a bit more. Frank sat in a hospital room across from his grandmother. Her fever had gotten worse, and he wasn't sure how much longer she could hold on. He looked up from his notepad and furrowed his brow. His face had become gaunt, and dark shadows had taken over his eye sockets. Frank had always been a thin man, but now it was clear he had lost weight. His eyes moved back to the paper, and he realized that all he managed to write was, "Dear Bill." He rubbed his right temple and closed his eyes. "Come on, Frank," he told himself. "You can write this. You've written to him before." He took a deep breath and forced himself to write. You know, you can tell the difference in writing styles between this and the Mass Effect one, because, like, I was like a year or two older when I played Last of Us. Once again, I can write better than this, but this one's not terrible. It's kind of nice. Dear Bill, Grandma isn't doing so well anymore, and her fever is getting worse. She recently received a blood transfusion from someone. They hope that it will make it better, but I don't think it will. I'm exhausted, Bill. I haven't slept most of the year that I've been here, and I'm trying to stay strong for my family, but I don't know, Bill. I think they've lost hope because they aren't here in the hospital with me. I can't wait to get back to Pennsylvania to see you again. Nothing would make me happier than to get a good look at that dorky smile of yours. You know, the one where you clearly don't want to, but you can't help it? I miss you. Love, Frank. Aw, that's sad. He set the pen down next to him and read over the letter again. This one was shorter than the others, but he was too tired to know what to write. He just wanted Bill to know that he was still alive. He folded the paper and made sure that it was aligned perfectly and not askew before putting it in the envelope. He shut it, put a stamp on the front, and addressed it to his old address. His eyes felt heavy and his body hardly wanted to cooperate anymore. It simply told him that it desired sleep and no longer wanted to do any work. Frank didn't want to give in, and he didn't want to sleep. And he didn't want to sleep on that couch for another night, but he knew he had to. Who else would watch his grandmother, he wondered. Thus, he allowed himself to drift off into unconsciousness. His grandmother wasn't going anywhere as far as he was concerned. An obnoxious crashing and clanging woke Frank from his slumber. He shook his head and glanced around the room to notice the IV had been knocked into the machinery. His grandmother, old and white-haired, stood before him. She moaned and cried out and held her head. To him it seemed as though she were in extreme pain. "Grandma!" He sat up and slowly moved towards her. "Are you all right?" Her eyes had turned red and she breathed heavily. She took a good look at her grandson, still moaning, and lunged towards him. Her hands clubbed at him and her mouth tried to take a chunk out of his neck. He shoved her off of him and he ran out of the hospital door. It seemed she wasn't the only one suffering from the strange affliction. Hordes of the other patients and doctors were all moaning and their eyes red. Frank ran for the entrance, trying to avoid everyone he could. He wanted to get out of that hospital, and fast! Once again, that's where it ends. I didn't write any more. Okay, so that one was better than the Mass Effect one. Still dramatic because it's Last of Us, but like, not so drama queen like the Mass Effect one was. You can tell I was a little older when I wrote it. I'd taken some more creative writing classes. I'd taken some more notes from friends. We're gonna go back in time a little bit. It was the year that, X-Men First Class had come out, and naturally I was obsessed with Charles and Erik fanfiction. So I wrote one. Charles and Erik. It's your move, Charles. He just smirked at me as he examined the chessboard carefully, determining his next move. Checkmate. Oh, sorry. Charles is British, so let's go with it. Checkmate. Charles smiled, moving his queen to the left a few spaces. I examined the board closely to notice that he was correct. It blocked my next move perfectly. You said that you wouldn't cheat, I said. I didn't. You're just predictable, Erik. He smiled, his gaze meeting mine. You know what your fault is? What's that, Charles? You don't mix up your strategies enough. Really? I seem to recall that I was winning for most of the match. Charles chuckled a bit and got out of his chair. He moved across the room and picked up a couple of large books. Charles, don't you ever take a break? I just did. I rolled my eyes. Well, you know where I'll be if you want a break. I exited the room, leaving him to his work. I walked down the hall to my bedroom. As I entered the room, I immediately shut the door behind me. I didn't want any of the kids to bother me. They're good kids, but they're just a bunch of naive teenagers. If they don't get it together soon, then I'm never going to get Shaw. I sat on my bed and reached in my pocket to see if the coin that Shaw gave me was still there. I pulled it from my pocket. It was warm in my hand from sitting there all day. I allowed the coin to float gently off my hand and spun it 3 times. I then began to move it quickly between my fingers. I watched it as it glided across. Watching the coin made me wonder, what will happen once I get to Shaw? Will I be capable of convincing Charles to join me, or will we go our separate ways? Ho ho ho. The thought of him leaving pained me. He is a great man, and it would be sad to lose such a great friend. There was a knock on the door, interrupting my train of thought. Erik? Erik, I heard Charles's voice. Are you awake? I got up and opened the door. Done working for the night? Maybe. It's only 10 o'clock. I could always get more work in. Then why aren't you working? I decided that I needed a break. Ah, you're finally seeing things my way then, I smiled. He rolled his eyes. Mind if I come in for a moment? I'm reading this way sexier than it is, and I guarantee it doesn't get sexy. After you, I motioned for him to enter the room. He made himself comfortable on the bed, laying his head against the pillow. I lay down next to him, and he leaned his head against my shoulder. The team is coming along remarkably, wouldn't you agree? He snuggled up closer, obviously very tired, though he wouldn't admit it. Yes, it would appear so. I placed my arm around him, pulling him a bit closer. Something bothering you? He looked up to my face. I'm fine. I could just check to see if you're lying. But you won't. How could you be so sure? You promised. Very well, he yawned. Can't. Very well. That's not a great no. Why don't you go to sleep? I really should only take a quick break. I've got so much work to get done. You're practically asleep. You can't get any work done in this state. I stroked his hair gently. Your work will be there in the morning. Just get some sleep. Charles barely protested, and with moments, he was fast asleep. And that is where it ends. Told you it didn't get sexy. I didn't do that kind of stuff. I was not that kind of fanfiction writer. But yeah, everyone was like, I want to read this fanfiction. I'm like, y'all, I don't write sexy fanfiction. It's not that exciting. But here it is. It's being read aloud to the world for all of you. I just found this one when I was searching for the others, and apparently I started a Misfits fanfiction. And I don't remember writing this. Don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's like a self-insert or like, I don't know anything about this. I don't remember writing this. So let's read it. I held up the orange jumpsuit to the mirror. I couldn't believe how horrendous the thing was, just as much as I couldn't believe that I was arrested. I finally got accepted into the University of London, and now this. It's a wonder Americans have a bad name here. I continued to examine the jumpsuit and eventually decided that I should suit up for my first day of community service. I made a quick survey of the room to be certain of the others weren't watching, and I quickly got changed. I exited the locker room and made my way to the outside where the probation worker was waiting. He made a speech about community service and how important it was. I wasn't convinced, and evidently, no one else was either. One girl started talking on her phone, another shot crude looks towards everyone, and the other girl got offended because someone poked fun at her accent. Basically, it was a disaster. Eventually, the worker gave up and sent us off to paint benches. Tedious work, but nothing we couldn't handle. Or so I thought. One kid decided to kick a bucket of paint into the water and storm off. I simply rolled my eyes and continued to paint. Hey you, the crude boy shouted at me. What are you in for? I think it's actually supposed to be an Irish accent, because I think this is supposed to be Nathan. Nope. I'm not doing that. Hey you, the crude boy shouted at me. What are you in for? He seemed to be asking everyone this question. I decided to lie. Driving violation. Well, it wasn't a complete lie. I just decided to tell half of the truth. Oh, look at this. We've got ourselves an American in the group. A long way from home. Must get pretty lonely, he said, making it blatantly obvious that he was flirting with me. How was that flirting? Oh, look at this. We've got ourselves an American in the group. Long way from home. Must get pretty lonely. I don't know how that was flirting. But my main character is sassy. Not lonely enough to be desperate. Oh, shit. Okay. Ouch, that hurts. I could see the girl with a strange accent and the weird kid burst into laughter. It wasn't long after that the probation worker appeared. Well, what the hell happened here? It was painting benches. You couldn't even handle that, he started? Seriously? However, before he could finish his statement, a large piece of hail dropped onto the water. The curly-headed kid began to laugh until another fell onto a car. Who's the curly-headed kid? I would not introduce a single character. I understand this from my perspectives, or I don't know whose perspective this is from. I am so confused. I know the kid who's flirting is Nathan, and that the weird accent girl is Kelly, and the guy she was talking to I think was Simon, but I really don't remember, and they didn't do a good job of setting up these characters or who these people are. Oh shit, he shouted. We all ran as quickly as we could in the direction of the community center. Fuck, this is not what I signed up for. I knew it rained, but what is this shit? The probation tried to unlock the doors, but it was too late. The lightning struck. It was the strangest few seconds of my life. It was as if the lightning surged through my entire body, but it didn't seem to hurt. It just felt odd. It was different. We all flew backwards and landed on our backs. The probation work seemed a bit off. Are you all right? The probation worker asked after a bit of chatter amongst the group. We all seemed all right. We headed back to the locker room and one of the girls approached me, the one with the very distinct accent. I can't do the accent she has. I'm Kelly, she said. You were pretty funny back there. What you said to Nathan. Thank you, I smiled shyly. And I'm Aurelie. Aurelie, all right. Are you French or something? No, parents just like the name. That's cool, I guess, she shrugged. Well, nice meeting you. I have to get changed now. Nice meeting you as well, I said politely. I'm absolutely horrible at socializing. She was trying to be nice and I couldn't even respond properly. How is that nice meeting you as well? I don't understand how that was awkward. What am I doing here? I took a deep breath, put the rest of my clothing on, and headed out of the community center. I walked back to the apartment. As I entered my place, I noticed a letter sitting on my counter. It had been there for a couple of weeks. I picked it up and read it to myself. It basically stated that I would have to be dropped from the University of London until my community service is over. It wasn't clear on whether or not I could actually be reaccepted. I sighed and threw the letter down on the coffee table. I slumped down on my couch and flipped through television shows mindlessly. My finger continued to press the channel button as if I had a mind of its own. My eyes burned and I could feel the salty water building, glazing over my vision, until one droplet ran down my cheek. I finally pressed the power button and shut the television off. I retreated to my bedroom. I flopped onto my bed and allowed my muscles to fall limp. I shut my eyes as tight as I possibly could and more tears streamed down my face. I just lay there, unmoving, and eventually I drifted off to sleep. So first of all, this one needed a lot of rewriting. Holy cow. I didn't set up who anyone was. And I understand that it's first person, but there are ways to set up who characters are in first person. And I did not do that. I think the reason I never continued this particular one was I could never settle on what power she got from the storm. So I just decided not to finish it. Once again, me not finishing fanfiction. Alright. Finally. For the pièce de résistance, when I was 14, there is artwork in here of me. This one is straight up self-insert. I didn't make up a character for this. I did have a Harry Potter fanfiction that I wrote where I had made up the character. I made up a whole backstory for her. It was the most elaborate thing I'd ever written. Well, no, okay, now it's not, but at the time it had been. It's gone. Name: Blythe. Age: 11. Height: 5 foot. Eye color: hazel. Hair color: burgundy with purple. Oh, sorry. Nope. I decided that it was dyed red. But burgundy with purple's more fun. And the drawing has burgundy with purple. Fave Muggle band: Green Day. Friends: Ashley and Kaylee. Crush: Fred Weasley. Later someone else. I didn't know I was gay yet, y'all. Personality: overanalyzing, laid back. I am not laid back. Serious, hyper, calm, quiet, shy, friendly, annoyed, angered easily, and can be talkative. Awkward personality. I spelled awkward wrong. I was 14 when I wrote this. Alright. Chapter 1. Hogwarts. Okay. I walked swiftly, pushing a cart in front of me, looking for platform 9 3/4. My parents looking around just as confused as I was. I looked at the clock between platforms 9 and 10, and it was 10 minutes until 11. There was a boy I noticed. He had messy black hair and glasses. The boy looked about as confused as me. I wondered why. Blythe, darling, are you sure it's 9 3/4? My mother asked. Yes, I answered, looking away from the boy. Packed with muggles, I heard a woman say. I looked over to see a plump woman and 4 boys, all with bright red hair. There was a girl, also with red hair, clinging to the plump woman. Muggles, I thought. What kind of word is that? Maybe it's a witch or wizard word. My parents were now looking at them as well. Then I started to walk over to them. I noticed the black-haired boy doing the same thing. He seemed to reach them first. I saw them run into the wall between platforms 9 and 10, but instead of crashing, they just disappeared. I looked at my parents, who had extremely confused looks on their faces. Apparently, I didn't know what a thesaurus was, so I used confused a lot. I decided to try. I ran straight for the wall, expecting to crash, but I didn't. I just ran into a whole... Oh, I also did the most American phrase here. A whole other platform. A whole nother. There was a scarlet steam engine with people boarding. I guess this is it, I said, feeling the surprise on my face. I guess so, my mom said. Well, you better be boarding, my father said, pushing me forward. We'll miss you. I also hadn't quite learned that you didn't have to say so-and-so said every single time they talked. You could not do that. We'll miss you. Miss you too. Wrong too? What is wrong with me? I said, now moving towards the train. I started to get on when I bumped into someone I immediately recognized as one of the red-haired boys. I'm sorry, I said quickly. It's okay, he answered. I quickly walked around him with my trunk. Now where to sit? I said, looking around. Hey, Blythe, I hear someone shout my name. I look to see my friend Ashley, who I don't describe at all, so something's about to get really fun. Immediately, I turned around and went to the compartment. I quickly put up my trunk with her help. In parentheses, with her help. Then I went to sit down. Sorry, I hand wrote this, so there's a lot of scratching out and fixing what I did. How have you been? Ashley asked. I haven't talked to you that much at all. I'm good, and I'm sorry. I've been busy, I replied. You dyed your hair. Also, I spelled dyed wrong. She noticed. I love it. It's so cool. Thanks. I really like the burgundy with the purple. I crossed it out and I was like, no, it's red. I was dyeing my hair red a lot in high school. I said, heh. What? There's literally H-E-H-E, heh. I don't know why that's there. What? Asked Ashley. Did I do something funny? No, I saw some people who look like you. They look like they could be related to you, I answered. So, my best friend Ashley, IRL, is someone I've known since I was 8, and she's a redhead naturally, and, well, growing up definitely looked like she could be a Weasley, and I didn't think to describe her or them, but also I am 14 when I'm writing this, so I'm allowed to be bad. Still giggling, she stared at me a little weirded out. There was a silence and the compartment door slid open. Hey, can I... Oh, hi, Blythe. Oh, hi, Blythe. Ashley, said a girl with shoulder-length brown wavy hair. Hi, Kaylee. Hi, Kaylee, Ashley and I said together without realizing it. I don't know. Kaylee was a friend of mine from middle school, so maybe I was 13. I might have been 13 when I wrote this. Where was I? Why don't you sit down? I asked. She sat down. Did you hear Harry Potter is going to Hogwarts this year? Kaylee asked, trying to start a conversation. No, said Ashley, not really caring. Who? I asked. You don't know Harry Potter? Asked Kaylee, astonished. No, should I? I said, confusion filling my expression. And don't forget, I wasn't born into a wizarding family. Oh, right, so I guess you wouldn't know, said Kaylee, guilt filling her eyes. It's not that big of a deal, said Ashley. Yeah, you're right. Wrong you're. God damn it, Blythe, get your shit together. Agreed, Kaylee. We chatted the rest of the way to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Apparently, also, Harry's not a big deal. He doesn't matter. Kaylee shouldn't have been excited about it for some reason. When we arrived, I saw a castle with a beautiful glimmering lake. The castle must be the school, I thought. It must be over 1,000 years old. I am writing from the perspective of an 11-year-old, so. I admired it as we walked up to the towering man. This man had a bushy beard and bushy hair. He wore it. So, I'm vegetarian and I have been since I was 2, so... And while I still think this is gross in general, I don't know why I thought to write this in. He wore animal skin coats. How cruel, I thought. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee, wow. That's just funny to me that I wrote that. Oh, 14-year-olds. Now we'll be riding boats to the school, the man said, with a booming voice. By the way, I'm Hagrid, Hogwarts gamekeeper. Oh, and forward to a boat. That's all. Me, Ashley, Kaylee, and a boy with... I couldn't decide what hair color he had. And I've crossed it out a lot. And then it says, at the top, there's a note that says... Up here. It's just up there. Forrest has dirty, blonde, reddish hair. Instead of dirty blonde hair or red hair or... So, Ashley, Kaylee, and a boy with with dirty blonde reddish hair got into a boat. Have I seen you before? The boy asked me. I don't think so, I answered. Oh, I must be thinking of someone else. By the way, I'm Forrest, the boy said, holding out his hand. I'm Blythe, I answered, smiling and shaking his hand. These are my friends, Ashley, the redhead, and Kaylee, the brunette. Now I describe them in the weirdest, most stilted way. Nice to meet you, Ashley and Kaylee said in unison, because everyone talks in unison. Soon we were off the boats and walking up a marble staircase. All around were beautiful paintings that were moving. I saw a ghost or two, but the moving paintings surprised me more, seeing as I already believed in ghosts. Ghosts aren't scary. A thin, tall, dark-haired woman walked toward us. She wore emerald robes with a tall, matching hat. Good evening, first years, the woman said. I'm Professor McGonagall. I did not know how to spell McGonagall, and I crossed it out so many times, and it was never right. You will proceed shortly through these doors, and the sorting ceremony shall begin. Afterwards, the feast shall begin. This is the thing you never do in writing. Shall begin, and they're literally on top of each other in here. She walked back inside, and we were left to wait. A few minutes passed, and we stepped inside. We entered a huge room with 4 tables. The ceiling looked as vast as the night sky. Candles were floating and illuminating the room. Now, I will call the names out alphabetically. And, yep, I misspelled alphabetically, apparently. And you will come and sit down here. I will place the hat on your head, and it will tell you what house you're in, said Professor McGonagall. She called out the names one by one. Hermione Granger, who is not first. So I made the executive decision that when I wrote Harry Potter fanfiction, I was going to combine book and movie information, partly because I liked being able to speed up things in the story, like the movies, and partly because I wanted information from the books that wasn't in the movies. So, like, at 14, I was aware enough to make that critical thinking and decision of, like, these things exist and I don't have to do all of them, but 7 didn't exist yet as a movie, so, like, I still had some stuff to wait for. So if you're, like, wondering why I didn't do, Hannah Abbott first, that's why. She said, Hermione Granger, she said, a girl with bushy brown hair, went up and sat on the stool. The professor placed the hat on her head. Gryffindor, the hat shouted. A few more names were called. Ashley, shouted McGonagall. Ravenclaw, the hat said, which is wrong. Ashley is 100% a Slytherin. Sorry, Ashley. I don't know why I put you in Ravenclaw. Kaylee. Gryffindor. Draco Malfoy. Slytherin, Harry Potter. Not Slytherin, eh? Well then, better be Gryffindor. Which you don't actually hear that? Okay, I don't know. Ronald Weasley. Another Weasley. Gryffindor. Blythe, the professor shouted. I looked up to hear my name called. Then I slowly neared the professor in the sorting hat. I sat on the stool and waited. Difficulty. Very difficult to say, said the hat. Quietly. Ah, clever, I see. Does anything to protect her friends. Likes depressing things. Likes depressing things? I do like depressing things. It's not wrong, but... Slither, no Ravenclaw! The hat was removed from my head, and in relief, I went to the Ravenclaw table. I don't know anything about this, so I don't know why I would be relieved to what I got. Like, am I relieved that I'm no longer under the sorting hat? Am I relieved because I'm happy with Ravenclaw? Why am I relieved in this moment? I don't know, because I have written myself as a POV character who has to learn everything about the Harry Potter world. The real girl knows everything about Harry Potter. The girl in the story knows nothing about it, so... my brain. Forrest Wilson. I looked up to see the bronze-haired boy sit nervously on the stool. Now he's got bronze hair. I changed it. Ah. Very, very clever, the hat said, intrigued. Definitely Ravenclaw. Do I not know? I spelled definitely right. No, I don't. I don't spell definitely right. The boy walked over and sat down next to me. I chatted with him and Ashley until the feast ended. I think the only reason Ashley's in Ravenclaw was so I could keep her in the same house as I am, but she's not a Ravenclaw. Then our house prefects led us to our common room. Soon after, we went to bed. Then a few days passed. "What's today's class?" I asked. "Charms," answered Ashley. After breakfast, we went to the charms classroom. "Welcome, class," said the professor. "I'm Professor Flitwick." Everyone sat down. I saw Kaylee and sat between her and Ashley. "Now today, class, we will be learning Wingardium Leviosa. Now, you all just wave your wands like we've been practicing and..." Apparently we've been practicing, even though it's only been a few days since I started. Which would imply that I've somehow been to charms a few times. "Say the charm, Wingardium Leviosa. Now try." "Well done, Miss Granger." I swished and flicked my wand. "Wingardium Leviosa," I said. The feather gently floated up. Ashley, Kaylee, and Forrest were just as successful. Charms ended and we switched through classes until lunch. "I'm not very hungry," said Kaylee. "You, Blythe?" "Huh? Oh, I'm sorry," I said. "What are you looking at?" asked Ashley. "Yeah," agreed Forrest, trying to meet my gaze. "Oh, nothing," I said, looking away, now blushing. "What am I looking at? I don't know." "Blythe, you're blushing, you know that, right?" stated Kaylee. Ashley started laughing. "I just saw someone who looked familiar is all," I snapped. "Oh, lighten up," said Forrest, punching me playfully. "It was just a joke." "Yeah, oh God, I just remembered. I have to meet up with Professor Flitwick about something," I said. "I have to go, bye." I wrote, bye, by the way. "Okay," said Kaylee, waiting. "Bye," said Ashley. "Yeah, bye," said Forrest. I ran off out of sight. Then I fell flat on my face. I'm very clumsy. It's true. "Ha!" Someone laughed. "The idiot mudblood girl fell flat on her face." I looked up to see Malfoy. "He doesn't know I'm a Muggleborn. He doesn't know me. We've never met. I just heard his name called and he got sorted." "Oh, shut up," I said, extremely embarrassed and annoyed. "Hey, leave her alone," someone said. "Yeah," someone else agreed. I heard Malfoy make a nasty sound. "And what are you gonna do about it, Weasleys?" asked Malfoy. I saw two red-haired boys, identical. "Just go, Malfoy, you annoying little," started one of the twins. "Mr. Weasley, we're not going to cause trouble now, are we?" I heard the familiar call. Oh, sorry, this is Snape, so I should have been, "Mr. Weasley, we're not going to cause trouble now, are we?" I heard the familiar cold voice of Snape as I tried to get up. "Fred and George Weasley." I saw the twins look at Snape angrily. Snape motioned Malfoy to follow and they left. "Hey, you all right?" one of the twins asked. I looked up and answered, "Fine." "Hey, I've seen you on the train," said the same twin, I think. "I'm Fred Weasley, I think." "And I'm George Weasley," said the other twin. They helped me up. "That Malfoy," I said through gritted teeth. I think I just read that description in books a lot and thought that was a good thing, but now I realize it's really hard to talk through gritted teeth. "That Malfoy!" And balling my fist. Get off my lawn, Malfoy." "We know," said Fred. I think it was Fred. I have a crush on him, I think, already, and I think... And I don't even know which twin is which. "I'm sorry, but you're Fred, right?" I asked. I'm sorry. It's fine. And yeah," answered Fred. "We get that a lot. I wonder why." "I'm sorry," I said again. "Don't be," said George. "So, you sure you're okay?" said Fred. "Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, by the way, I'm Blythe." I get my full name. I don't know why I get my full name. I answered. "Oh, great. I'm gonna be late. Sorry, I have to go." "Yeah, be careful," I started one of the twins. I ran into a wall. "I'm so stupid," I muttered. "Maybe we'll go with you," I heard Fred say. Okay." I felt blood rush to my face. The twins walked with me to the charms classroom. I said bye to them and walked into the room. "Good afternoon," said Professor Flitwick. "Good afternoon, Professor," I replied. So what did you want to see me for? Oh, I was wanting to see you about some of the work you did today and to say I'm glad to have you in my house, answered Flitwick. Thank you, I said. I'm glad to be in Ravenclaw House. Oh, I was waiting for Mr. Jameson to come so we could work on some spells, the professor said. Won't you join us? Sure, I answered. I stayed and worked on my magic. And that's the end. 14-year-old Blythe writing Harry Potter fanfiction. Featuring herself. With a crush on Fred. And I think later Forrest. I think Forrest was going to be the romantic interest. But yeah. That's been the journey of my fanfiction that I can find. I'm sure there's more. I know there was more. I know I've written more. Most of it was Harry Potter. I'm not gonna lie, because that was like my main obsession, well, for a long time. So I hope you liked my fanfiction. I hope you thought it was silly and funny, and I hope it was worth me doing this. If you like this video, please hit like, please subscribe, go watch my other videos. They could use some love too. They're mostly about Star Wars. There's one about Green Day. There's one about Last of Us. I'm still starting out, still trying to figure out what exactly works and what doesn't work, so yeah, subscribe and join me on the wild journey of me starting a YouTube channel during quarantine.